So today we're talking with Janet Clouston, Managing Director of Albert County Historical Society and Museum. Hello, Janet.
Hello, Natasha. How's your day going?
It's pretty good. Sunny day. We can't complain.
Well, you get to work from downtown Moncton too. That's my hometown. So I have a lot of great memories. Downtown Moncton and Capitol Theater and that beautiful city you get to work out of. So
yes, I have to admit that the streets are pretty empty. Yes. But anyways, on the other note, this Saturday we're seeing the opening of the Albert County Museum.
We're really excited to open. You know, through this whole experience, our team at the museum, our board of directors, have been committed to opening. We just stayed true to that. We want to share our museum with the public, and we weren't sure, you know, clearly under the advice of the province and waiting for things to hopefully have some normalcy, but we did open, and we are opening on the 6th on this Saturday, and we'll be open every day through to the end of September, as long as conditions allow us to open. We've got staffing in place, and we worked on our COVID-19 operational plan, and so we're following everything by the book, safety first, and we're just really excited to be sharing the Albert County Museum and our story with our community and all of New Brunswickers that plan to come and visit.
So this interview is mostly aimed at other operators in the province. Can you tell us a little bit? Maybe they don't know a little much about the Albert County Museum. So what is it?
Well, when Albert County became a county in 1845, we were actually one of the most prosperous places in New Brunswick, and the citizens of this area wanted to have their own town capital and their own say in what was going on in their affairs here. And so in 1845, we became a county, and in fact, Queen Victoria signed the proclamation making us a county when she was 26 years old. That gives some perspective to people. So we are the original shire town for Albert County. Albert County goes from Riverview down the Petitcodiac, including Fundy National Park, and across Caledonia Mountain to Elgin. So this whole area is Albert County. And so we became a county, and they needed a town capital. So they chose Hopewell Cape, which is where we're located, right by the Hopewell Rocks. And so we're the original shire town from 1845. So you'll imagine, if you will, King's Landing with that beautiful historic village and the beautiful grounds. And but that was actually a made village from houses that were being saved from the building of the Mactaquac. We're actually an original shire town. So all our buildings are original to the site, including our records office, tax office, the beautiful courthouse, which is one of the most stunning buildings in the province, and the haunted and creepy old jail that's there as well. It's part of the site. And then there's other buildings that have been added over time. Our community hall from 1870. We have a little library building from 1900. And so those are all original, intact, and now it's a museum site. In the early 60s, it was transferred over to the Historical Society. And then in 1962, we opened as a museum. And I'm happy to say that in 1962 at the museum opening, one of the dignitaries that was there at the ribbon cutting is Dr. George Macbeth. Many people know him in the province. He was the chief historian. He went on in his career to be the chief historian in the province and established King's Landing. He was at the ribbon cutting as the New Brunswick dignitary, and he is my uncle. He was there. I wasn't born actually in 1962. So my uncle was actually the one that was at the ribbon cutting. When I found that out, Natasha, when I started my job on day 2 of my job, I started April 1st of last year, I found some documents on my desk, and it was a cutting from the Times Transcript newspaper, 1962, museum opens to the public. And the first line in that is, "This will tell the history of the province in a way that hasn't been done in the past," said Dr. George Macbeth. And I nearly fell off my chair to see that it was actually my uncle who was at the ribbon cutting at this place that I get to work now. And so I really channel his energy in my work and say, what would Uncle George do? My aunt actually was Dr. Marie Macbeth, and she established Science East in Fredericton, in the old jail, as it turns out, ironically, in Fredericton. She was the first president of the board of directors of Science East. And they would come and visit me in Vancouver. They actually traveled the world looking at science centers to find out the best science center hands-on learning they could find. And they would stay with me in Vancouver when they were at the science center there. So yeah, I'm really, I guess the baton has been passed, and I'm really excited to be in my home province and living on the beautiful Bay of Fundy here, and then working for this amazing historical society and doing the work at the museum. So I'm really proud of New Brunswick. I really am a very patriotic New Brunswicker. I was living out west for many years, but New Brunswick's always been close to my heart. And the people of New Brunswick are just so terrific. I love our bilingualism as well. You know, the fact that we are a bilingual province, the only bilingual jurisdiction in North America, there's a point of pride there that I think is really special. And I really embrace our differences and our bilingualism. And I will let you know too, we're hoping to work with our First Nations communities in the area. We've been gifted with some artifacts. I've already let Heritage New Brunswick know that this is happening. And so we're hoping to work over the next few years to add on to our storytelling. We opened the Acadians in Albert County exhibit last year. So our storytelling goes back to 1600. And then we are hoping to work with our First Nations neighbors in Fort Foley and Elsipogtog to put on a First Nations exhibit. And so we're excited about that and passionate about adding that next level to our storytelling.
That's awesome. So as many operators in the province are going through reopening, what was your biggest challenge in reopening at this point?
Well, part of it is logistical. We have the building that we do our administration out of is a beautiful little historic building, but it is a little historic building, and it's an L-shaped building. And I reworked the furniture many times to say, you know, how can we provide great service? So it's a gift shop and our admin area and our info center all in a building. So what we did is we shifted our operation into our community hall. It's you know, 1,800 square feet, and was going to sit empty because we can't do any group functions. All of our dinners and parties and special events and concerts that we had scheduled for Albert County 175, which I'll share details of in a bit. That building was going to sit empty while we awkwardly dance around a small old library. So we've shifted, and we've put our administration gift shop into the larger building, allowing us to provide great customer service and social distance, provide safety for my staff so they can work together in there, but we can meet our guests. We've purchased, like most places, the shield to go up in front. I mean, the closest interaction will be around payments for admission and payment for things that people are buying in our gift shop. And so we've built our logistics around that. And so we're operating out of this much larger building. And the library is being turned back into a library. So we've scoured the museum site for old books. I found this very old Edgar Allan Poe book, and we found old textbooks from, you know, the early 1900s. I've got these beautiful old, in fact, one of my Uncle George's books is in there. He wrote a textbook on the history of New Brunswick, and that book is going in the library. So we're actually returning and finding some old artifacts that we had in storage that blend that theme. And so the library will be a library. I've got some old encyclopedias that are being donated. So our staff are now, and the public washrooms are up there, and our new exhibit for this year will be Albert County 175. And it's going in that space as well to give people room to be able to see it. Again, safety and social distancing. What we did last year, Natasha, too, is I don't know about yourself when you go through a museum, but I love exploring on my own. I love, you know, if I'm with a friend, we go explore together, or with a family member. But I love the sense of discovery of just walking around, going into a room, seeing what's in there, and learning on my own. If I have questions, I like to go ask somebody. But for my style is not guided tours. People do like that, and we offer them, of course. And some people ask for guided tours. We started doing self-guided tours last year. And so we're focusing on the self-guided tours this year, and we're only doing self-guided tours. So when a person checks in with us, we will do an orientation to the site and let people know, you know, which buildings are in which area. It's a 6-acre site, and there's lots of room to explore outside. and then people will just go on their own, and or with their family or whoever's in their bubble that they're at the museum with. And we'll just do their own self-guided tours. We're limiting the number of people in each building, and we'll be quite carefully monitoring that. But the self-guided tours worked really effectively last year. We're able to help a lot of guests that way. And so we're only doing self-guided this year. And that's one of the areas we're focusing on. So, because we have a lot of outdoor space in each of, with 8 buildings with 23 exhibits. So there's lots of space for people to move around. We are really focusing on the family market this year. We really feel parents have a concern about the education of their children. I mean, this has been a gap year without wanting it to be. And there may be some deficits a little bit in terms of the education. So we have a wonderful learning opportunity for people around history, around the World War I history, around our establishment as a county, about R.B. Bennett, the 11th Prime Minister of Canada. So we're also the Bennett Commemorative Center. And New Brunswick's only born Prime Minister was R.B. Bennett, and he served during the Great Depression, 1930 to 1935. So there's a lot of similarity between the challenges Bennett faced as Prime Minister and those that our current Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, are facing. And a lot of our social infrastructure was created during Bennett's time as Prime Minister. And he, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation was established by R.B. Bennett. The Canadian Broadcasting Act was passed in 1932, and that was a forerunner to CBC. So the next time you turn on CBC radio or watch anything on CBC TV, you can thank R.B. Bennett because it was his brainchild. Essentially, he felt Canadians needed to communicate with each other. And so CBC was formed. So the Bennett story is told throughout our entire museum. Story of architecture, shipbuilding. There were 300 sailing ships that were built in the Bay of Fundy here in Albert County. Those big, beautiful, tall ships that you see in Halifax when you go to the Tall Ship Festival, that history is told here as well. And, the history of the invention of kerosene, the first fossil fuel in the world, was invented here in Albert County. It was a substance called albertite, and that story is told. So there's a wonderful learning opportunity for families here. People of all ages are welcome, but we find it's especially interesting to see families coming through and learning about, especially locals, that come and learn about how amazing this county is and this community. But it's really a showcase of New Brunswick history and in fact, Canadian history. Story of Confederation is told here. So. And the Acadian Exhibit too. I'm very proud of that.
That's been added last year, you were saying?
That's it. We did the opening because of the Acadian Congress. We planned on doing it anyway, but our board of directors chose to open it next year to celebrate that. And we had our opening day last year was truly a wonderful crowd of people here to learn their Acadian roots and to celebrate with us. It's a story that hasn't been told. This entire county was established by people from France, and it was a French community for hundreds of years. And the story of the expulsion, it's a sad chapter in our history, but it happened. And we heal by learning and sharing. And so that exhibit is fascinating, and it tells the story of the abattoirs. They were earth and dams that were built, and we were able to reclaim all this marshland here, still being farmed today, still being used for cattle. And that area, the only reason why we can use it at all is because of the Acadian people who were here. And so there's a replica of an abattoir there. So I'm really proud of our museum. I have to say, I'm a museum junkie. I'm a bit of an information junkie. I've been through a lot throughout North America and in Europe, but I tell you, our museum, the quality of it is incredible. And
you're finally giving me the desire to go. I haven't been.
Please,
so.
Please do. Yeah, well, and as as part of tourism, heritage, and culture, our entire museum is bilingual.
Fantastic.
So we're able to welcome folks, and then when we're talking with people in the industry, our stakeholders within the industry, I'm really proud to say I'm on the board of directors of the Albert County Tourism Association. I do have a background in community development and tourism. So I'm a big believer in community-based tourism, where we actually we are in the tourism industry, the visitor economy, to benefit our local residents and to tell our story. And people are craving authenticity, and via community-based tourism, we're able to offer that. And heritage and culture is an important part of that learning. You know, I'm an outdoor person, I love hiking, and all of that. A full, robust picture of the community you're visiting, and doing something culturally, doing something, a learning experience, doing something interactive, and sharing time around our history and our cultural space really gives a person a well-rounded experience.
So what is the 175 exhibit? What can we expect?
Yeah, sure. So Albert County 175, our board of directors realized a couple of years ago that Albert County 175 was happening in 2020, and they put a grant application in with the federal government. And we received our funding. Now we have actually all three levels of government, our local municipal governments from Riverview, Hillsborough, Alma, and Riverside, Albert. The province of New Brunswick have contributed towards this. And I'm also proud to say the Hopewell Rocks have just stepped on board as one of our presenting sponsors as well. So I get to work with the excellent people at the Hopewell Rocks in putting this together. It's a celebration of our culture. We had a number of events. Most of it was based around live events. I will let you know, like lecture series and heritage talks and a number of programs. And so we've had to shift gears like everybody else and find a different, innovative way to tell our story. And so we're continuing on with our work. We've just produced a souvenir booklet that's been mailed out to every household in Albert County. We printed 20,000 copies of that booklet, and those are available for free at the museum when people check in. And it's a 20-page magazine with the history of our county, and the R.B. Bennett story is in there. So that's a really good learning tool as well that people will receive as a souvenir gift this summer. So we're doing a number of programs. One of the first things we're doing is a rededication of the cannons. If you go to our site, you'll see that there's 2 German cannons that are actually their war trophies. And they were gifted to our community because of our patriotism. We had the most troops per capita of any country, any community in Canada, which is a statement to our people. And also we raised a lot of money for the war effort. At the end of World War I, they ran out of money and they couldn't get the troops home. And so they did a program right across the nation, and it was called the Victory Loans Campaign. It was the forerunner to the Canada Savings Bond. So they reenacted the war bonds during World War II as well as a fundraising effort for the war. So these were called victory bonds, and they had already won the war, and now we needed to send troops home. So R.B. Bennett's brother, Ronald, was the chairperson of the fundraising campaign, and we raised over $300,000, which at that time is a lot of money. It's, I think, equivalent to over $4 million today. So the goal was $100,000, and if you raised more than your 100,000, you had an opportunity to receive one of these German cannons, and our community got it. So per capita, we raised the most money in New Brunswick. And so that cannon, which was captured at Vimy Ridge in France, both cannons were captured at Vimy Ridge, are gifted to our community, and they're at the entrance by the Bennett Memorial. It's the 100th anniversary of those cannons being in our community. They arrived here in were installed in 1920. So we're doing a rededication of those cannons, and actually both cannons are going to be fired for the first time in over 100 years.
When will they be fired? On Saturday?
Yeah, on the 13th.
On the 13th, sorry.
Yeah, 13th of June is when we're doing this. And we're not sure how many people we'll be able to have there. We're hoping for 50, and that might still happen based on the announcement of the province. Will clearly be social distancing. We have a lot of grounds around that area. It could be just 10 of us there, ourselves and the pyrotechnic expert, Peter. So he is going to.
I'll go. I'll make sure to film.
Yeah, we're hoping to we're working to get television there. So we're hoping to get CBC, for example, possibly could come. to this rededication program, and we'll have it videotaped as well. So so there's a number of programs that we're working on throughout the summer. Folks that have gone onto our Facebook page, it's Facebook.com/Albert County Museum, are seeing a photo a day. So Stuart Lipte is the chairperson of the Albert County 175 campaign. He's our past president, is working on a photo a day of historic photos from the county, and he's 6 months into this photo a day. I can't believe that he's able to do this, to share with people the history of the county. And it's amazing how many people are waiting for the photo. I mean, it's people are just like, and then he started a program called homeschooling when school was out, and he's done this once a week. It's a weekly homeschooling where for example, Molly Cool was the first female sea captain in North America, and she's from Alma. In fact, the regulation around the Shipping Act had to be changed to add the word female in there, because they only had male, a man may be a sea captain, and they actually had to change that legislation federally to say female. So she changed the law, and that was changed. And she was a sea captain based out of Alma, and her story is told on our website. So what Stuart did is created a homeschooling banner, and then it linked to our website for this, and family members. I actually got a school today that contacted us saying, how do we get old versions of this? We just saw lesson number 10. Where are the rest of them? Because she wants to share all this with her classroom. I just got that email today from Salisbury Middle School, and she loves it, and she's like, how do I get more of these, right? So we just keep innovating. It's turn on a dime and figure out what to do. Now we're working on an August 8th celebration. That is the date we became a county officially in 1855. So we're marking the date. We're marking R.B. Bennett's 150th birthday on Canada Day. We may not be together, but we're going to bring the story to the public. And that's what we're doing with Bennett's 150th birthday. We still have a story to tell. How do we tell the story? And so we're just constantly working on partnering with people. We're hoping to make an announcement soon about August 8th in terms of what we're doing. We've got some behind the scenes work that we're doing on live performances of local musicians from Albert County. That we have some of the best talent in Canada here in Albert County. We've got some beautiful musicians that do wonderful work, traditional music and bluegrass and country, and just really fun. We have one of the best fiddlers, Samantha Robichaud, and so we're trying to figure out how can we showcase these musicians, and how can we celebrate August 8th, and realizing that we may not be able to be together. And if we are, we can only have a limited number of people. So, we are planning for a big celebration of over 1,000 people in Riverside, Albert, for August 8th. And of course, that's not happening. So I guess if we've learned anything through this, it's not giving up, and it's being resilient and resourceful.
Yeah, I think that your innovation, the ideas that came out from this, and I think that, sometimes we see the dark side, but sometimes you can see the good side, right? And I think that Albert County Museum has all given us the desire to move ahead and innovate and make things better with the resources that you have. Thank you so much.
No, well, we're in this together, and, we can get sad for a little while, and believe me,
that's okay. Yeah.
It seems to, because we're very sensitive right now, it's hard. This is not easy what we're going through. This is a worldwide pandemic, and people are really suffering. And I think, things that happen to us normally, you'd say, oh, geez, that happened. Now I think it's like, oh my God, that happened on top of all this, and this is not an easy time, but we have to have optimism, and we have to believe in the future. And my role with Albert County Tourism Association, in terms of being on that board with some incredibly wonderful people, is to look to the future, and to say, we're a great tourism destination now. How do we become even better? Looking at best practices around the world in terms of stakeholders working together and supporting each other and looking at culinary tourism. I think we were just scratching the surface of that in New Brunswick.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're in a beautiful farm community here. It's got a history. We are planning an 1845 dinner in October. It was a harvest dinner. We're still trying to figure out how to pull it off with food they were eating in 1845. And in fact, a local farm down the street, Funday Farm, bought seeds, heritage seeds. They're planting them, and we're designing a whole menu based around what people were eating in 1845. And we're sort of doing back in time for dinner and figuring that out. So looking at what opportunities are there for the future, looking at partnering with our friends in St. Martin's to have this whole, working with our friends in Sussex to expand the region, working with our friends in Moncton with the newly formed DMO there. What a wonderful opportunity. The city of Moncton is going to be doing wonderful things over the next while. You know, you never give up, you know, and that we may not have a great season this year, but we have a wonderful future ahead of us.
Well, Janet,
and working with yourself, with folks like you, Natasha, I think we met before I even started working at the museum.
Yep.
Just networking, and you and I met at Sunny Bray Cafe, I think. Yep. Something like that. Yeah, my old neighborhood that I grew up in fact. And just collaborate and building and supporting each other in our work. Some incredible great people from Tourism New Brunswick and Taya NB, and you know, just local business owners, people who have been here for just decades working away. And you know, for us to now say, how do we get to the next level? How do we really take, you know, our experience as New Brunswickers and be able to really give people a wonderful experience. I guess we do a trial run this year because we're welcoming New Brunswickers to experience the best of what we have as a province. I know there's many areas of this province I haven't seen. And so I'm looking forward to that. And we want to welcome people here and really highlight what we have to offer and provide people with an awesome experience. And I know I've come back to New Brunswick for a reason. I was living on Vancouver Island, living on Salt Spring Island. In fact, doing tourism marketing for the Gulf Islands, Southern Gulf Islands. I had a wonderful time there, working with Destination British Columbia and working with those folks in Tofino. They're wonderful. Tourism Victoria do an incredible job. And those were my colleagues. And I chose to come back to New Brunswick. I chose to live on the Bay of Fundy area. I think the Albert County Museum chose me. It's sort of turned out that way. I absolutely love it, having a great time there. But I believe in New Brunswick, and that's why I'm here. I have a cottage in Casey Cape, so I get to go and do that. I have family in Moncton, I get to be around. But really, it's my belief in this province, and it's my belief in who we are and what we have to offer that's brought me home. And so I want to spend the rest of my career working towards success in this industry. Right now I get to do it via the Albert County Museum. And it's a true honor for me to be here, living and working again in my home province, and really, really thriving and enjoying it. So
thank you so very much, Janet.
Well, thank you, Natasha. It was great connecting with you today, and I look forward to seeing you at a safe distance at the Albert County Museum.
We'll be there.